nervous.
Yeah.
Oh, I know. They were all
Our
saying that when you
socks.
started running
These are
those
the
ads
cutest
like
socks.
years
Yeah,
ago.
Miss is
It's
still
not
at the table.
that big.
I was here last month, but not
Here,
for the
this is
joint,
home.
yeah.
All right, I
So
got
far,
9:30 on
about
the
40 feet.
computer here.
I mean,
You guys
you
got
look at it.
'It's
9:30.
unbelievable.
Brian's
You know,
trying.
my
Best
60s,
year in
my
30
fingers
years.
are
How are you?
Right.
Barney, it's good to
Right.
see you.
Best year in 30 years.
Come on now.
How are you?
I can get 3 votes up here anytime I need for a vote.
Yeah. There
I'll
we
go ahead
go.
and get us fired up now, but everybody in the audience after.
Thanks for being on the Charter Review.
All right, good morning,
Thanks.
everyone. I'd like to call to order the meeting of the Lee County Port Authority. It's our joint meeting with the Airport Special Management Committee.
Everybody's.
Today is March 9th, 2023, and I've got 9:30. Let's begin this morning with our invocation. I'd like to ask Rabbi Michael J. Shorin to join us at the podium, and if everyone would please rise for the invocation. Morning.
Good morning, everyone.
Morning.
Dear source of all life, my colleague, Rabbi David Wolpe, tells the following story. Once upon a time, a man stood before God, his heart breaking from all of the pain and injustice that he saw around him. Dear God, he cried out, look at all of the suffering, all of the anguish, and all of the distress in your world. Why don't you send help? God responded to him, I did send help. I sent you. I love this story because it reminds us of how important it is to listen. The person crying out has been attentive to all of the voices of anguish all around him. And of course, as we all know and trust, our higher power is listening to us. But listening is not always easy. So this morning, let us invoke the blessing of listening and its entire skill set. Paying attention, being present, and being open. The sounds we hear this morning may come from small voices or big ones. They may come from obstacles in our path, or even from friends we have not met yet. They may even come from airplanes taking off and landing. Sometimes the voices we hear may even come from deep inside of us, from our own conscience and intuition. So I ask you to remember, for the person with attention, every day becomes the very day upon which all the world depends. May each of you and this meeting and all of your deliberations be blessed today. And I thank you for listening.
Amen. Thank you,
Amen.
Rabbi.
Thank you.
Please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge
Allegiance
To the flag
of
of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you.
Thank
You
you.
may be seated. Well, this morning we would like to begin with a very special public presentation, and at this time, I would like to recognize our Chief Tracy Young to come to the podium. And Chief Young, I will let you conduct the special retirement ceremony that we have this morning. Morning.
Good morning. Tracy Young, ARF Chief. We've got a special guest in the audience today, George Diaz. Please come on down. This is a running joke I've got with George right now. This is the third time I've retired him. We did it at the station. We did it at his party in Cape Coral. Now. You're gonna keep this on your wall. Right? You don't have to take it back down. So, all right. 10 years old, George Diaz made Florida his home after he and his family immigrated from Cuba via Morel boat lift in the 1980s. Throughout his life, George has always put his best foot forward. In 1992, he graduated from the Miami-Dade Academy of Fire Science and began applying for fire departments in the Miami-Dade area. Picturing he would stay close to home, but after stumbling across a flyer from what is now Lee County Port Authority, ARF, firefighting department, plans started to change. At the time, neither George nor his wife, Sandra, knew anything about Lee County, but both were eager for the opportunity to see his dreams come true. After George accepted a firefighter one position with ARF, he commuted from Miami to Fort Myers for 4 years before he and his wife Sandra and their 3 young children purchased a home in Cape Coral, where they still reside. During his 30-year career, George received state certifications as an emergency medical technician, fire officer, fire service instructor, live fire training instructor, basic life support, and car seat technician. He currently serves as a faculty member for the American Heart Association. Basic Life Support Training Center, as well as an instructor for the American Safety and Health Institute. With these credentials, George headed up the CPR classes offered to the airport staff, tenants, and his community. He also managed all of the fire extinguishers throughout Southwest Florida International Airport and Page Field. That's more than 1,000 extinguishers. He oversaw the ARF technician program and served as the department coordinator for all community event activities. He committed to educational and professional growth, has helped him move up in the ranks of Lee County Port Authority Aircraft Rescue and Fire Department. In 2008, George was promoted to battalion chief, where he was responsible for administrative and managerial duties on his shift. He worked closely with the fire chief to strategize and implement policies and procedures for the department. In this role, George was able to make an active command role on emergency operations when needed. George has happily retired as the 8th Shift Battalion Chief on January 26, 2023. That was the first time. Again, looking forward to traveling with his Sandra, enjoying the grandpa life, which is his full-time position right now, with his grandson, Anakin, who's out in the crowd right now, and soon-to-be granddaughter, and of course, staying close to the field of public safety by continuing his education and teaching safety courses. Thank you for your exemplary service to our airport and the communities we serve.
Oh,
This spans his 30-year career right here.
wow.
That's
And
correct.
as it evolves, you'll see the different badges, different patches.
Wow, where's the grandson? No, I mean, on
Oh,
that.
be right here.
I was gonna say, that deserves a badge in and of itself.
All right, George, you can put it on the wall and keep it up there.
George, I know I'd like to shake your hand. I bet all the other commissioners would too, if you'd walk through this way. We'd love to.
Thank you. Enjoy your time, sir. Appreciate your service.
Thank you very much. Thank you for your service. Enjoy being grandpa.
Don't run for office.
Are they gonna file?
Well, Ben sent a letter out.
Say it? I'm gonna get.
I don't know what's gonna happen today.
Congratulations. Where's the?
Well, congratulations. I always love starting a meeting off with a ceremony like that. We wish you the very best. Absolutely. Well, at this time then, we'll take up public comment on the consent agenda items. The consent agenda is the first, let me see how many items we have on the consent. First 15 items. So has anyone come to speak on the consent agenda items 1 through 15 this morning? If so, just raise your hand. We'll call you up to the podium. Okay, I see no speakers, so we'll close public comment. Commissioner Pendergrass, do you have anything you'd like to pull for discussion?
No.
Commissioner Greenwell?
No.
I have nothing. Commissioner Sandelli?
Nope.
Commissioner Ruane?
I have nothing.
Okay, nothing's been pulled for discussion. Does somebody wish to make a motion to approve the items? On the
Gladly will do so.
motion for approval from Commissioner Ruane and the seconds from Commissioner Sandelli. Do we have any discussion on that? Seeing no discussion, are there any objections? No objections, that motion carries unanimously. At this time, we'll take up the administrative agenda, and we'll take public comment at each item before we vote on it. Let's start with item 16. Mr. Siegel, please introduce the item.
Yes, sir. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Item 16 requests the board approve a third amendment for lease of hangars at Page Field with Paragon, and I'd ask Mr. McGonigal to address that item, please. Thank you.
Yes, good morning, everybody. This is actually a simple amendment with Paragon Flight School at Page. Their parcel A, their land on parcel A, they want to increase it from 33,000 square feet to 43,000 square feet, just for automobile parking. Their business is growing, and so we're happy to do that. We've got the land firm, and it'll go from 14,000 a month to 14,500 a month.
Very good. Commissioners, any questions for our staff here on this item? Okay, I see no questions. Would you please raise your hand if anyone's come to speak in public comment on this item? Okay, I see no public comment. Commissioners, does somebody wish to make a motion?
Gladly will do so.
Motion for approval from Commissioner Ruane.
I'll second.
Second from Commissioner Greenwell. Do we have any further discussion on this item? Are there any objections? No objections, that motion carries unanimously. Mr. Siegel, please introduce item 17.
Yes, sir. Thank you. Item 17 requests the board approve amendment for the lease of TSA office space at the Southwest Florida International Airport. Go ahead, Brian.
Yeah, thank you. Number 17, the TSA out here is actually our biggest tenant. They lease about 9,600 square feet throughout the terminal. It expires next month. We want to extend it for a year, the exact same terms. They actually pay us about $1.2 million a year in rent. We're going to extend it a year, and we'll come back to you because we're going to have to move them with the terminal expansion project. So this just buys us another year, and then we'll be back.
Excellent. Commissioners, do we have any questions on this item? Yeah, I see no questions. Does anyone come to speak in public comment on item 17? Just raise your hand if so. See no public comment then. Back to the board. Does somebody wish to make a motion?
I'll make a motion.
Motion for approval from Commissioner Greenwell. Do we have a second?
Second.
Second from Commissioner Sandelli. Do we have any discussion on that item? Are there any objections to the motion? Seeing none, the motion carries unanimously. Mr. Siegel, please introduce item 18.
Yes, sir. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Item 18 requests the board approve a contract with Motorola Solutions for the purchase of radios and other public safety communications. And I'd ask Mr. Hennigan to please summarize the item for the board.
Good morning. For the record, Stephen Hennigan. This item number 18 requests board approve a piggyback contract with Motorola Solutions for communication products, services, and solutions for the radios and other public safety communication services and devices, and authorizes the executive director or designee to execute purchase orders with a not to exceed of $120,000 a year.
Very good. Commissioners, any questions on this item? Yeah, I see no questions. Does anyone come to speak in public comment on item 18? I see no public comment. Then back to the board. Do we have anyone who wishes to make a motion or discussion?
Move the item.
Motion for approval from
I will
Commissioner
second it.
Pendergrass and seconds from Commissioner Ruane. Do we have any further discussion? Are there any objections? No objections. That motion carries unanimously. All right. Item 19, Mr. Siegel, please.
Yes, sir, Mr. Chairman. Item 19 requests the board approve a contract with Graybauer Electric to purchase electrical and lighting and data communication products. Mr. Hennigan, can you summarize that item?
Yes, agenda item 19 requests board approve the use of a contract between the city of Kansas City and Graybar Electric Company to purchase electrical, lighting, data communications, and security-related products. This would be both for Southwest International Airport as well as Page Field, and this is a not to exceed of $200,000 per year.
Very good. Commissioners, any questions on this item for our staff? I see no questions. Does anyone come to speak in public comment on item 19? Okay, I see no comments. Then back to the board. Does somebody wish to make a motion?
I make a motion to approve.
Motion for approval from Commissioner Greenwell and the seconds from Commissioner Sandelli. Any discussion on that item? Okay, seeing no discussion, are there any objections? No objections, that motion carries unanimously. Please introduce item number 20, Mr. Siegel.
Yes, sir. Item number 20 is request the board approve an agreement with Christel to undertake necessary repairs for some buildings over at Page Field. Mr. Henry, can you summarize that, please?
Yes, agenda item 20 requests board approve an agreement with Christel to undertake necessary repairs for roof, drywall, and firewalls at various hangars and other buildings at Page Field due to the extensive damage caused by Hurricane Ian. This was with a contracted amount of $957,000, and this will provide the permanent repairs for Page Field.
Any questions, commissioners, on this item? I had one question, Mr. Hennigan. Is this going to be reimbursed by the Federal Emergency Management Agency, or how do we cover the cost of this?
So right now, we do have claims filed with FEMA. They're still working through that process, and initial indications from insurance shows about $350,000 coming back to Lee County Port Authority to cover these costs.
Okay, thank you. All right, any further questions? All right, seeing none, I'll call for public comment. Has anyone come to speak in public comment on item 20? Okay, I see no hands. Does somebody wish to make a motion, commissioners? Motion for approval from Commissioner Sandelli.
I'll second.
Second from Commissioner Greenwell. Any further discussion? Seeing no discussion, are there any objections? No objections, that motion carries unanimously. Mr. Seaver, please introduce item 21.
Yes, sir. Item 21 requests the board authorize the execution of a contract amendment with Half Acre Construction to conduct a remedial excavation for the former hydrant fueling system over here at the Southwest Florida International Airport. And I'd ask Ms. Underhill to summarize the item, please.
All right, thank you. Good morning, everyone. Emily Underhill for the record. The administrative agenda, item number 21. The former hydrant fueling facility is located adjacent to the former terminal building site on the RSW North Ramp and adjacent to property that the Port Authority is attempting to develop with aviation-related uses, such as an MRO facility or other similar uses. Following the decommissioning of the associated underground fueling system in August of 2006, a limited closure assessment was performed which revealed soil and groundwater impacts related to the former hydrant fueling system. As a result, a full assessment of the facility was requested by the Florida Department of Environmental Protection in September of 2006. Since then, LCPA has coordinated with the FDEP to conduct various assessments and respective reporting of the soil and groundwater conditions, and in 2013, the FDEP concluded that remediation was required. A remedial action plan was approved by the FDEP in 2014. Per this plan, numerous multi-phased extraction events were undertaken by the Port Authority. When these did not achieve the desired results, a second alternative, bioremediation, was attempted with several attempts from 2017 through 2019. A new limited site remedial action plan was prepared in November 2021, which was approved by FDEP in February of 2022. It was determined that there were elevated groundwater concentrations exist, contaminants would likely continue to contribute to exceedances in the groundwater if not removed. As such, the excavation that is proposed under this contract amendment was chosen as the most effective remedial action to finally bring this site closure with the FDEP. The work associated with this contract amendment will involve an excavation to remove the contaminated soil and groundwater. At this time, staff recommends approval of this half-acre contract amendment in the amount of $2,355,693.82, approval of a total project budget in the amount of $3,178,887, and extend half acres contract time through November 30th, 2023 in order to complete this work.
Any questions, commissioners, on this item? A couple just to, we talked about them during my briefing, but this is covered by insurance,
Yes,
so they'll cover the cost of the remediation.
yes.
Also, last question, where do they take the material that gets excavated?
That's a good question. I mean, it has to go to an approved facility. It's, they have to get the prior permission to bring it to the correct facility. I don't know for certain where it is.
Do they burn it?
I don't know.
No.
Sorry.
No, they haul it to Texas.
Yeah.
Hope not.
California.
All right, thank you very much. Any further questions, commissioners? All right. At this time, has anyone come to speak in public comment on item 21? Okay, I see no comments then. Commissioners, does somebody wish to make a motion?
I'll make a motion.
Motion for approval from Commissioner Ruane, and the seconds from Commissioner Sandelli. Do we have any further discussion?
No, just
Commissioner Sandelli?
timing on everything we do is long enough. And I think we've run the traps, on this. It finally came to a point where I concur and appreciate the fact that we're gonna get it done and get it right, so that we don't find that later in the game. So congratulations to the team for moving along.
Yeah, I agree. It's gonna make the site much more marketable and easier to develop when the time is right to do that. So Makes sense. All right, if there's no further discussion, then are there any objections? I see no objections. That motion carries unanimously. Mr. Siegel, please introduce item 22.
Yes, sir. Item 22 requests the board authorize the execution of a contract with Stantec for oversight of the item that we just spoke about, the CEI services, and I would ask Ms. Underhill to summarize that item as well.
Yes, agenda item number 22. This item is related to the prior item, as Ben said, as it will provide for the necessary technical oversight during the environmental remediation construction. This contract amendment with Stantec, one of the Port Authority's general planning and environmental consultants, will perform various planning and logistical duties and conduct construction engineering inspection services and environmental oversight of all the work. They will prepare a remedial action plan implementation report, as well as safety plan compliance documents, as the work will be airside.
Very good. Commissioners, any questions on this item? Okay, seeing none. Has anyone come to speak in public comment on item 22? I see no hands and no speakers. Commissioners, does somebody wish to make a motion at this time?
Mr. Chairman, I'll move the item.
All right, motion for approval from Commissioner Ruane.
Second.
Second from Commissioner Pendergrass. All right, very good. Any further discussion? Are there any objections? No objections. That motion carries unanimously. That concludes our administrative agenda. At this time, we'll move to commissioner items. Commissioner Pendergrass, do you have anything for today?
No item.
Commissioner Greenwell? I have none. Commissioner Sandell? Commissioner Ruane?
I have none.
Okay. Does anybody have any committee appointments to make?
None.
Okay.
None.
I see none. At this time, we'll move on to comments from Chair of the Airport Special Management Committee. Who's our current chair? Is it you, Mr. Chris?
Yes,
All
I
right.
am. Everything's going great, but I was struck here today that you guys not like Commissioner Ruane. Somebody didn't tell him that blue jackets was the order of the day.
Sometimes you gotta put them in their place. We have a whole thing going on here about dressing so on. If you'll notice, on the pictures up here, he's talked the vice chair into not wearing a tie.
There you
Wants
go.
it, so the question now is, who's got socks on? Trendsetters, that's what they call it. Right?
I love that.
No more
Absolutely.
comments.
Thank you for starting trouble.
Anything else from the Special Management Committee at all? Anybody? Thank you all for the work you do. Appreciate it.
And Fran, good to have you
Thank
back
you.
down the table here.
Yeah, absolutely, Fran. Thank you.
Thank you.
Glad to have you back. Okay, at this time, we'll move to the report of the Executive Director, Mr. Siegel.
Yep, thank you, Mr. Chair. Just a few comments. Breeze Airways recently announced new service to Hartford, Connecticut, and Providence, Rhode Island. The flights to Hartford start May 17th and will operate twice weekly. The flights to Providence will start on July 13th and operate 3 times weekly. In addition, Frontier Airlines will increase service to Cleveland in April from 7 weekly flights to 14 and seasonal flights from Trenton, New Jersey, and those have been extended through May. RSW finished the first 2 months of 2023 as the 33rd busiest airport out of the top 40 for TSA throughput, surpassing some bigger airports like Raleigh-Durham, North Carolina, Chicago Midway, and Sacramento, California. Lastly, I just want to mention that we recently conducted our Tri-County Mass Casualty Incident exercise, which is required by the FAA to demonstrate our readiness to handle aircraft incidents at RSW. Key LCPA participants were ARF, APD, operations, and maintenance personnel, as well as first responders throughout Lee County, including EMS and Bonita, Estero, Lehigh, San Carlos, South Trail Fire Districts. We also had volunteers from Lee County School District, FGCU, FSW, and Lee County Visitors and Convention Bureau. And I really just wanted to say thank you to all those that participated and appreciate all the work that our staff put into making this a very successful MCI. And with that, that's all I have, Mr. Chair. Thank you.
Good. Commissioners, any questions for our Executive Director?
I have one.
Yes, Commissioner Sandell.
We had a couple instances, somewhat infrequently with an aircraft blows a tire and moving that. We had talked about getting a jack of some sort, or is that something that's in the work or something that, how we're working that out? So, because one runway makes it tough.
Sure. Yes, sir, Mr. Chair. Yeah. So thank you for the question. So the jack that was required to move that 737 MAX that blew 2 tires a few months ago, the jack is here. We've received the jack. United has sent us a jack. I've seen it. I went to physically see it to make sure it was here. However, it is temporary because they are ordering one. That will be a permanent one, but the order, it was on, there was an issue with the manufacturer getting the one that they had ordered specifically for this site. So we had pressured them a little bit to get one here at least temporarily, and they did do that. So we do have a jack that will accommodate something like that in the future.
Very good. Glad to hear that.
Yeah.
Do you have any sense, Ben, of where we're at? One would expect that we're going to be down traffic-wise in the wake of Hurricane Ian. How any sense of how we're doing so far this season?
Yeah, I do. So right now we're averaging anywhere from 12 to 15, and is at times as much as about 18% down from 2022. You know, I put that into context though. We're down from 2022. You know, 2022 was our very busy year, our busiest year ever. So when we are down, we're down coming off our highest and best, you know, year ever. We're still trending very well when you compare our numbers to pre-pandemic, but we are down, and our revenues are down as well. From a positive perspective, we prepare conservative budgets purposely, and I meet with the finance department on a monthly basis, and we don't have any significant concerns about our operating budget, our cost trends, our revenue trends. We still have maintained a very conservative spending pattern, and our CARISA, ARPA, and CARES funds that we had received, we continue to use those, and we'll continue to use those on a conservative basis to make up, you know, some of these deficits. So we're still in good shape, but we're down. So.
Commissioner Ruane, yes.
So then, I guess it's fair to say that you're trending, obviously your trends are certainly above your plan for '23.
Are above our.
You're trending above your plan, the plan that you.
No, we're still down off our original projections.
Okay.
We are down off our original projections from 2023. Yeah. But not down, we're not down as much as 2022's numbers. I think we're down 7-8% off our projections. Yeah, we're down off our budget projections of about 7 or 8% right now.
Probably getting the beaches open and stuff like that will help.
That makes a difference. Yeah,
It
yes, sir.
helps, Sure.
Yeah.
Right.
But you know, the biggest thing is, you know, people are still coming here, and we know that. They're getting here in different ways. What the big change has been for us has been the number of seats that the airlines are putting into this market. A couple airlines cut a lot of service into this market, and the airplanes are full. So, you know, one would think if there were more seats coming into the market, we may have more people coming in through the airport. Because they're getting here, they're just getting here through either other markets or driving or whatever the case may be. So it's just, can't just use the airport by itself as a barometer at this particular time, because we have less capacity coming into the market, if that makes sense. So.
Commissioner
What was the
Pendergrass.
rationale of reducing the seats, and which airlines was it? I know Southwest reduced, but.
Southwest and Spirit were the two airlines that reduced capacity, the greatest capacity here during the season. And that doesn't mean they will do it throughout the entire summer, but during this season, the highest season, like through March, has been the biggest reductions.
Do they state why? Were they thinking because of the damage, lack of hotel rooms, and the lack of?
It was demand. Their bookings and what they saw, and they're more point-to-point type airlines. They don't run through their hubs.
Right.
So they have a different type of model that they run, and they just did not see the bookings and pre-bookings that they wanted to see. So they started pulling flights.
Okay.
Different type of airlines.
Yes, Mr. Andres.
I know in the past we had a sinkhole on the runway. What is our type of monitoring program do we have in place that made me think about when you asked about the jack? What type of monitoring program is ongoing so that we can detect something like that to do repairs before the runway caves in again?
Yeah. Who wants to take that? Mark, you want to take that, or yeah? Go ahead, Mark.
Good morning, everybody. Mark Fisher. We don't have an ongoing marketing program. We've done ground penetrating radar, a lot of other things, but just like everywhere in Southwest Florida, sinkholes can open up anywhere. We have our ops department is out there constantly and have mandatory inspections 3 times a day. So there's something on the agenda today. We have some asphalt that's bubbling up. Sometimes they'll have a little divot out there. We go and test, we do a bore. If it's something, then we dig it up and fill it up and put a ton of grout down there. But it's Southwest Florida, so
We don't do any regular monitoring to.
no, again, there's a risk. It's a risk reward. If you go out there and punch a bunch of holes to see if there's any voids, you may create a void. So we try not to punch holes in the lime rock underneath there, but we monitor it constantly, and we have a lot of data and reports historically that help us predict a little bit. But again, it's a sinkhole, so it's a little unpredictable.
Okay, thank you.
You know, one solution may be have just more Air Force pilots, because they just,
Well, I was
a
thinking,
lot of Navy pilots, you know, we fly different.
well, the ground
We crank
penetrating
it in.
radar they have now, it's just absolutely so effective in determining.
Well,
the
your point's
different
well taken,
densities.
though, especially with one runway.
Yeah.
You know, it's our livelihood.
Yeah.
Very good. Anything further for the executive director? All right. And does that conclude your report, Mr.
Yes,
Siegel?
yes, sir.
All right, very good. At this time, we'll turn to the port attorney. Anything for today?
No, sir, thank you.
All right, no port attorney items today. At this time, we'll open the floor for public comment on other matters. Has anyone come to speak in public comment on any item that was not on the agenda today? Okay, I see no comments then, so we'll close that. Is there any further business before us for the meeting? Okay, seeing no further business, then we're going to adjourn the meeting.
Right.
Would you like to go right into the workshop, commissioners?
Sure.
All right, so at this time, I'll call the workshop to order and ask Mr. Siegel to introduce the workshop.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Chair. Brian McGonigal's gonna have set up a little PowerPoint for us to walk through, but as they're setting it up, I'll just kind of highlight what we're we'd like to discuss with you today and maybe accomplish. There's really three areas, one at the International Airport regarding our parking fees. We'd like to talk to you a little bit about that and some changes we'd like to, that we're suggesting over there. It's twofold. The pricing for our parking, we're trying to accomplish two things. Obviously, parking is a key revenue source
He's not here.
for the airport. Goes to pay a significant amount of our operating costs. So obviously, we got to pay attention to that. Our operating costs are going up. So we need to take a look at our parking fees to make sure that they're adequate. But also, we took a look at, where we are from a comp standpoint in terms of competitive, in terms of what we're charging. The other thing is we all know our challenges in season, especially in our garage, the short term and parking. Well, that is also driven by our pricing and how we balance our pricing between our surface lot, our long-term lot, and our short-term lot. So we got, about a year ago, we started talking seriously with the consultant. We hired Recondo and Associates, parking experts, to help us take a look at our parking fees in general at both lots to see how we might be able to balance things better and better align ourselves strategically to generate, obviously, more revenues to help us cover our increasing costs, but also help us generate some revenues to help us pay for our capital improvement program that we have going on at the airport, and also balance the operations between the two lots and maybe help us balance the supply and demand issues that we deal with currently. So that's the first item. The other item has to do with our fuel products over at Page Field. We have, since we took over the FBO, have really dealt with a pricing model, a business model, if you will, that is basically driven by the cost of our fuel plus a markup. And that model, although has worked pretty well over the past several years as our cost of doing business at Page Field has gone up, our margins continue to get eroded. And the philosophy at FBOs is really, it's cover your costs first, build in your margin. So we engaged a consultant that does FBO fuel product pricing for a living, and we're recommending and want to cover with you today a suggestion in changing the way we do business in terms of our pricing of fuel products, so we can make sure we're covering all our costs and then we're generating that appropriate model. So it's just a change in methodology, and I think you'll see it kind of makes sense, but we need to talk about, and we want to get your feedback on that. And lastly, at Page Field, it's our hangar rents. Obviously, a big supply and demand issue there. We have long wait lists. We want to talk to you about phasing in fair market value rental increases over a period of time. And with that, I'll turn it over to Brian, and he'll walk you through some of the things that we've looked at in our suggestions. So, thank you.
Yeah, thanks, Ben. Good morning. This is kind of like a pre-budget workshop. We'll be back to you in May with a lot of details. But yeah, three topics that we wanted to talk to you about, and I got the blue suit memo too, you notice. I want to talk about goals and parking at RSW, fuel at Page Field, and hangar rates at Page, as Ben said. Our goals going into the budget is to always maintain a competitive CPE while maintaining a superior level of service. Continued use of the CARES, CRIS, and ARPA funds. We got $79 million. We're very lucky we got it. We have 2 more years left. We got about $25 million left. Like Ben said, it helps stabilize the rates. That's why we think we're still in good shape this year. So we're gonna continue to use those. We're very lucky. And then we want to continue to allocate resources for pay plan adjustments and additional positions. So we'll get you the details on that in May. So the parking rates, we have not changed them since 2016. It's been a while. We're going to recommend some changes that I'm going to show to you. Right now, our rates in the garage, first 20 minutes free, per hour is $3, daily max is $18. The long-term lot is per hour $2, maximum is $11. We reduced the first week down to $60, and then every day after that, it's $4 a day. We think there's room to increase this. I want to talk to you a little bit about the garage and the long-term lot. They're completely different products. The garage is 2,500 spaces, as you know. One is covered, one's in the roof. 65% of the parkers in the garage get out in less than 6 hours. They're picking up people. That's what we want. They get 20 minutes free, they pick people up and they leave. Problem in the garage is we've got a big capacity issue. The garage is always full. Its second level is full almost all year long. You go up in the garage and the roof right now, it's pretty crowded. We want to raise the rates to change the behavior of some of these parkers in the garage. We have too many long-term parkers in the garage. I think if we bump it a little bit, I'm going to show you, we can change the behavior and they'll hopefully go to the long-term lot.
And let me just, let me just add a little bit. So when you say the 65% that are in and out in the same day is really what is desired. The issue is that there's 35% that are parking overnight or are actually long-term parkers. That is high for the industry in a garage. And that will, and you'll see with that, we'll see some of the changes, but I just wanted you to understand that 35% people parking kind of more on a long-term basis in the garage is part of the issue. And our rates are part of that issue as well.
Yep.
So,
What is that industry benchmark standard that?
It's Brian. What did Jason?
What was the question?
15 to 20
that
park in the garage regardless of what the rates are.
Yeah, it was I think like 18, 20%, something like that. Yeah. Okay. And some people, no matter what the rate is, they're going to park in the garage and just stay there for 2 weeks. I mean, no matter what it is. But we're going to hopefully change the behavior on some of them.
Brian?
So, yep.
I go in and out of Salt Lake City frequently, and they have instituted an arrangement in their garage where you can go online and prepay a reservation. Has there been any thought to incorporating something like that here?
Yeah, we have, Scott, but we do not have the technology yet to do that. And it's also, there's a peak pricing that we've talked about. We just don't have the technology yet, but we are getting it. we've been asked that people want the reservation system. Our system can't do it, but we're looking at upgrading it in
How
the near future.
competitive are we
We,
with
and we have the
the-
ability with our current system to start adding that type of technology. It's an investment, but we think it's a good investment to make. And whether or not we're gonna make it as part of our garage expansion project that we're gonna be doing as part of the rental car project, or we do it independently, is still yet to be determined. But we clearly wanna take the parking products that we have and the service that we're providing to a different level. It needs to. We're behind in that aspect, and we recognize that. But what we wanna do is make sure during the interim that we're providing better supply for those truly short-term parkers that are looking to come in and get out versus having so many long-term parkers taking up all that short-term space. Because, so.
I've seen that system, the Mercedes-Benz stadium up in Atlanta.
Yeah.
The other thing it does, though, you go right to your spot, so you don't have these people driving around
Oh,
looking
yeah.
for a spot. So
Oh,
it's
yeah.
much more efficient.
No, absolutely.
You have a question, no?
Yeah, have we done any kind of surveys to see what, is going on with the parking lots adjacent to the airport? What's off-site?
Yeah, the off-site, right now, I was looking yesterday, the off-site is $12 a day plus tax. They also, you can prepay longer, but it's pretty close to us.
Pretty close
Yeah.
to what we-
And there's surcharges too that they tack on as well.
They have hidden charges.
It's, sometimes you gotta really pay attention to that. They'll say it's $8.95 a day or $10.95 a day, but then there's taxes and surcharge and all that. So it's, we're very competitive. Actually, our consultant that was one of the things they were looking at when they were looking at our rates.
So like Ben said, we did a parking study in March of '22, just a year ago. Right now, it's getting refreshed. So I'm going to show you in this next slide. If you look on the right, our current rate of 18, and our other airport friends around the country, there's Fort Lauderdale, Tampa, Orlando, Jax, and Miami. The average a year ago was $22 to see on the right. It is now, if you go to the left, same exact airports, the average is now $24 a day with those airports. Okay, I thought that was interesting.
That is.
So we're lagging. We think we can go up. Same thing in the long-term lot. If you look on the right, a year ago, when they did this study, they compared it to our same peers, and the long-term rate per day was 14. And it is now, everybody's raising rates slightly, so it's now $15. So this is what we're recommending. We're recommending to keep the 20 minutes free. That's important. People, if you don't have that, people will park on the curb and wait instead of going in the garage. It gets people off the curb. And we don't want to change that hourly rate. The consultant said, you keep that the same. But we think we're real comfortable with it. We think we can move the rate to $24 a day. Again, if you see right there, $24 a day is kind of in line with our other airports. And I don't know if I mentioned this, but the cost to run both parking lots is really expensive. It's going up every year. It's $4.5 million that we pay SP Plus. Is that them? SP Plus, they have 85 employees. We just bought 15 shuttles. They just came in, 1.5 million. So it's getting real expensive to keep that operation going.
And if I can just add, Brian, just so the 24, obviously shows. I mean, that's an average. I mean, it's obviously that's the number based on an average. Is that the right number to get the movement from a behavioral standpoint? That ultimately, that 35% that we're looking for, we don't know. And we were talking to the consultant about that. We're not going to know until we make those adjustments. I mean, you could try something less, you could try something more. but we think as a good step, 24, based on what the market shows and based on where we're currently, that's a good move. I mean, it's $6 more a day. So it seems pretty steep, but when you take a look at the fact that we haven't touched our revenue since 2016, it's probably about 2.7% a year, effectively, in terms of the increase, because we haven't touched it in 6-7 years. So, but anyway, we're just, these are our ideas, at this particular time. So, yeah, Commissioner.
Is this a seasonal adjustment or is
No, all year.
all year?
Yep.
period?
Yep.
It is what it is.
Mm-hmm. All year long. Yep. And then in the long-term lot, we.
Brian?
Oh,
Sorry, Commissioner Pendergrass.
Right, no, good.
I'm sorry.
Yeah, we talked about the rates earlier, and I totally support being competitive, but also I don't want to see us raise rates just to, I know we need to change the behavior to a certain point, but some people are still gonna park in the garage, like Brian said. But from a budgetary standpoint, are we raising the rate because we need the revenue for the new expansion of the garage? I know we have that expansion coming in the garage. So if we have additional spots, behavior won't be an issue, but where's the extra money gonna be going? $6 per day? Do you have a calculation with the total revenue collected? Because it is a fee to our residents that use the airport. And, we still have you still hear a lot of people say, I can go to Fort Lauderdale or fly out of Fort Lauderdale or Orlando cheaper because the flights are cheaper because we charge more to the airlines, or they charge less to the airlines. I just want to be competitive, but still keep our airport convenient. The way it's perceived now is why we're number one is because our airport's so efficient. Another thing is the 20 minutes coming in and out. Who uses that 20 minutes? I'm just thinking, time you actually get your ticket and find a parking spot, you really don't have much. That probably only gives you 10 minutes to get in the building and get out. So
That 20 minutes is really doing, because you're right, 20 minutes, it's really hard to get in and get out, but it's giving them like $1 free.
okay.
Because they're, is that what it equates to? Is like they get $1 off?
Yeah, instead, it's $3 an hour. So yeah, it gives them, if they get out in an hour, it'd be $2.
Yeah.
Okay.
Because they get
So
that 20
my
minute
question,
free.
my direct question is, the extra revenue would be collected based upon our current numbers. Where does that revenue be going? Would that go towards future expansion of the garage, or just extra revenue for the Port Authority?
It goes to help pay our increased costs of doing business at the airport, because all of our operating costs, are going up. I mean, over the last 2 years, about 17% increase in cost. So it helps offset those costs, but it also helps us leverage future capital, our bonds, if you will, helps us, our bonding capacity to help pay for capital improvements at the airport, not just the garage. The garage has funding sources that we're going to use, but when you talk about a $1.5 billion worth of expansion that we have over the next several years, our bonding capacity is limited. So obviously it's important for us to be able to generate revenues on the airport to help pay for that. So every $1 million of additional revenue that we can generate on airport, that provides us additional bonding capacity to help build those things. Otherwise, we're not able to build.
That's why I was asking,
Yeah,
is I want to see
so-
us just trying to raise fees and taxes and rates just to collect more money to change behavior when we're garages or expansion is not, we already admitted we're not keeping up with the space. We need more parking garages. That's why we're doing the expansion. But I just want to see us raise rates just to change that, move the vehicles from here to there.
It's twofold. It's to create some capacity, help create some capacity in the garage, but the primary reason for raising rates is the generation of additional revenue to help us pay for the cost of the future of this airport.
That's what I was looking for.
And it's obviously a user fee.
Right.
You don't pay for it unless you're using it, of course.
Right.
So, yeah.
Thank you.
Mr. Chairman.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, I may be looking at this wrong, and I've never even got into looking at this. I'm probably one of those 18 to 20%. I'm gonna park under that garage regardless of what you charge me, right? But in looking at that short term, and you're wanting to change pattern, if I'm looking at it correctly, it still would not, to me, control that overnight stay. Because you take that $24, if you keep the hourly rate the same, 3, you've charged them for 8 hours of parking. Is that true?
Yeah, and once you hit 8 hours,
What then?
You're free.
You're free. So I've gotten covered parking overnight. I love it. I'm gonna stay there.
Yeah, but
What
right
you're
now you're doing
trying
it
to
for 18.
accomplish-
Right now you're doing it for 18.
Well, that's even worse. Because, for our standpoint, because
Right.
now I've only paid for 6 hours of parking, and I'm gonna stay overnight.
Mhm.
And I've got covered parking. I feel really secure because the police department out here is awesome. And I'm not gonna move. So, and the other thing is business trips. Can you really go to where you're going, like to Atlanta, you gotta go to Atlanta to get to Tallahassee, and then you wanna come back the same night? Can you get there? Can you have your meeting? Can you get back in 6 hours? Well, no, I don't think you can. You've still got free parking if you park right there. So I don't know that it's going to turn over, because that's what you're going to do. You want more turnover for more visitors, more spots coming to really do what the short term's intended for, to truly be short term, right?
So
Am I going
it's
in the wrong direction here?
not really.
Yeah.
So from our standpoint, there's two things that we're focused on here. And no, this is good discussion. So the two factors are covering costs, future capital development. Parking revenues are a significant revenue source for the airport. I mean, it's a key product for us. The second is freeing up some of the very limited garage parking that we have. So if we can change some behavior with a rent increase, which we believe we will, and our consultant believes we will, that will help the supply and demand issue that we have at the garage. It's not going to solve it. I don't know if there's a number that will.
Yes, sir. I guess
So-
as a consumer and a visitor, I'm really not thinking about what you're gonna do with this money. I'm just thinking of how I'm impacted when I come to the airport, and it's all about convenience for me. And so if I sit there and I know I can't go on my business trip, I guess I would create the incentive then for those people who really are the days people, and make it less even. Give them some benefit to get in and get out in the 6 hours, if that's what you're gonna do, or 8 hours. And then really bump that daily maximum. I mean, do you know what I'm saying? I would not want to abuse the visitors that come here and truly use it for the short term. But I'm really getting a good deal to stay overnight in this parking.
Yep.
I personally think so. Otherwise, I'll have family members drop me off if I don't want to pay that. They have a choice, right? They can take a taxi out here.
Oh, yeah.
and get a
People
taxi, go
do that
back,
today.
And it's gonna be probably still.
More.
Exactly.
I would pay the 24.
My only comment is this, right now, you're only paying $7 more to have covered parking a day. And if you're a corporate traveler, you're writing it off anyway. So to get back to your car, it's cool, you had covered, it's probably a good deal. Even $12 isn't gonna phase a whole bunch of them. I don't know if we get this much percentage, maybe it's good for the airport, but I see our rates as like truly good right now. Just like Robbie says, you couldn't Uber from my house to here and back for.
So maybe higher in the garage?
I think so.
It's a true convenience. You're out of the weather. Your car's not sitting out in the sun if you do have to go somewhere for a week, because I'll park there for 2 weeks. I truly will, because I got
Sounds like a
covered
problem.
parking.
Commissioner Greenwell, yeah. I agree, I'm gonna do the same thing, but I think we have to look at it as, what about the majority of people? So, I think increasing to 24 makes sense. You're still not maybe gonna deter some of us from doing that, but you will do some, because there are some that are obviously on tighter budgets. So I think there will be some decrease. Not gonna totally solve your problem. We know that you're gonna have an expansion to solve that problem. So I think we have to be very careful and not say, well then, I'm gonna park there if it's $40 because I'm lazy. or I got a bad knee, or I can afford to, but I think if we're gonna increase, we need to be relatively stay within what's out there, and I think you're doing that. I agree with you.
Oh, no, I'm
but
just
I-
saying, make it an incentive. I mean, give the people a break that are gonna go in and go out in less than 8 hours. But if you're gonna be here more than 8 hours, I do think it should go up, at least calculate something because I don't know where your closest, parking would be, but I don't know where most of the travelers come from. I don't know how you determine that amount, Ben. I don't know. There's smart
So,
people who need
so
to
the,
determine
there's not, and I think where we might be getting hung up on the 8 hours, because that's really not a factor.
I mean, but they could park up in
It's
the
the 2
long
hour,
term
it's the 2 to
if they're
3
gonna-
hours. I would say a majority of a truly short-term parker is there for a couple hours. There's not a lot of people that are coming in and out in 8 hours. They can't go on an airplane and get back and do the 8 hours. So the incentive is that, because we have a very, very competitive, favorable rate that you can get in a couple hours, you're gonna pay $6. But if you're,
good.
right, and that's the way it should be.
That
That's,
meets our objective.
that meets our objective. If you're gonna park daily, it's, in the garage, it's gonna be on a daily basis, $7 more a day than going to the surface lot. I think from at least the consultants and what we were looking at, is that a good spread between the two products to see what type of changes we'll make. What is gonna meet our objective in terms of being competitive for parking and generate additional revenue, and will that be enough to change some of the behavior? And if it's not, we'll know within a year.
I got a question
but-
real quick. How
Yeah.
many days are in that first week? Is that 5 days or 7 days?
In the long-term lot?
Yeah, in the long-term
7
lot,
days.
7 days.
Sev-
So-
yeah,
So you're doing $10 a day.
So, yeah, in the long term, let me explain the rates here, Commissioner. We're recommending going from 11 to 12. The consultant said he highly recommended don't go more than 12 because you're gonna compete with your off-airport competition because they're at 12. So if you go to 14, everybody's gonna be going competition. So for 1 week, instead of costing, what's 12 times 7? $84, we're gonna discount it to 70. And then the second week, we're going from $4 to $10. So
Still the same price as the first week for 70, it's $10 a day, and it's still $10 a day if you do the second week.
Yeah, we're not discounting, we're only
Right.
discounting it off the daily.
Right.
Yeah. That's
And,
the only
and
discount now.
the consultant thought that $4 was much too low.
Oh, yeah.
How many
Yeah, Brandy.
people know there's a weekly discount? You go there and it says, $11 a day, and I would think if I was gonna be 7 days, I'm expecting to pay $77.
Yeah, it's signed out there for that, right, Chris?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know how many people are paying attention to it, but there's not I don't think there's any airports that are discounting it like we're discounting it for that second
Well,
week.
I'm saying, why? Why are we doing that?
We're saying get rid of it.
Yeah,
We
I am
we
too.
don't think it's smart.
And nobody's expecting it. I had no idea till I saw this, that they even discount it for the week. You
Yeah, I
go
thought
up
it
to
was
Punta
so.
Gorda,
No,
it's
that's why we're
$18 a day.
suggesting getting
Boom.
rid of it.
Yeah.
Stay as long as you want.
I mean, I'm trying to just do the math here. So like, if you stay in the long-term parking for that first week, 7 days, you're gonna pay $70. If you stay in the short-term parking and you're paying the daily maximum of 24, you're gonna pay $168. So you're gonna pay $100 more for that week.
Yep.
So the question that we're all trying to come up with is that $100 more per week gonna be enough to move basically 15% more out of the short term and into the long term?
Maybe.
I don't know.
But you have
Yeah.
a year, if you
I
do
mean,
that, you have a year to.
I can tell you as a father with 2 kids, that $100 might be enough for me to go, okay, I'm gonna go move us into the long term. And when I did travel with my kids over the holidays, we did park in the long term. I also have a conscience. I felt like, well, this is long term, it's not short term, so I better go park in the long term too. That's just how I am. But yeah, I mean, that $100 I think would be enough to get me to move. And I think, like you said, we'll know after the first year if that was enough to change enough folks.
And we've got the people that are running late, that do not have time to get on the bus, so they're gonna miss their plane, and $100 more in a week. Hey,
gonna
cost
miss
of doing
it.
business.
Yep.
I'm not gonna miss that flight, it's $400 if I do.
I think you should do the 77 for the first week, and then
Right.
you got a 70 for the second week. That's really truly a discount.
I don't. Oh, go ahead. Who Commissioner Rainier?
Just a couple of questions. Great conversation. Did you have any type of input from your consultant on what behavior modification might be altered as a result of you increasing the rates? Then the second question is, do you know the makeup or the demographic of who parks in short-term parking? Business, personal?
Those are good questions. So we did talk about the behavioral changes, and unfortunately, they're guesses, and that's why we're going with the 24 and going with the average. We had talked about getting more aggressive, but we wanted to start with 24. And the reason it's a guess is because every market's different.
Mhm.
This market being more of an O&D market, we think we might get a bigger change than other markets that are more a business market that won't care what you do. So when he started taking a look at, what type of behavior changes you might see in a Tampa, or Orlando, or Jacksonville, those are business markets. You can't expect the same changes here. So we don't have a number. We think it's going to move it, doing the math like the chairman did, but we're recommending, let's see what happens in a year and go from there. So I'm sorry, I can't give you, it would be just a guess. It's just a guess. And then the demographics, it would be the same type of demographics that we have in terms of travelers at the airport.
Right.
We have those, I just don't have them off the top of my head.
I was just
So,
curious,
yeah.
in short-term parking, is it more business travelers than leisure travelers? And obviously, as everyone had indicated, with the changes in TSA schedule, trying to meet airlines, you're writing it off. I don't think twice about it, just park
Right.
there.
I don't know that we're gonna know the type of parkers in the garage.
Didn't know if
Yeah.
there was any prior
Yeah,
surveys.
I don't know how we would know that,
Yeah.
without doing some sort of survey.
Yeah, I didn't know if
Yeah.
you'd done that.
Yeah.
Yes, ma'am.
The only comments I ever get about parking is, and I truly do feel that the short term, I'm with you on the confidence level, the short term truly should be for the families that are coming here to pick visitors up, their guests, their family, to run in, get them, get their luggage, get the car. And like you said, 20 minutes just doesn't cut it. You can't do any of that in 20 minutes. So if we're really, and I don't know I know what you're trying to accomplish, but if we're really striving to have turnover to keep our residents and consumers that are really bringing new people in and taking them back to the airport, if we want that convenience factor, I would love to incentivize, can that get done in an hour? Can you drop somebody off, park, take their luggage, get them checked in, and then get back to the car and leave? If you're meeting somebody and most everybody calls, I'm here, you come, you park, you go help them with their luggage, get in the car, if that can be done in an hour. Those are the only people that I ever get negative comments. I couldn't find a place to park to pick you up. So don't call me until you're standing on the curb and pick me up, right? And that happens when I fly into Birmingham to my own family. They are having a dilemma like that. So I know we don't want to get negative comments from our consumer out there and our visitors. So if we do increase for those people who really are going to use it a whole day or an overnight or whatnot, if we increase it there, can we back off a little bit and still accomplish your mission of revenue on that hour?
So make the 20 minutes an hour instead of 20
Yeah,
minutes.
I mean, is that too unrealistic to do?
That would be a because
be
remember,
significant?
65% of our transactions are truly short-term. That would be a significant revenue hit.
That would be at least $1 million revenue hit.
Yeah.
Okay.
It would.
Significant.
Yep.
Fran, you had a.
I was-
Fine.
I was just gonna say that no matter what we do, if we raise it 50 cents an hour, you better be careful how you put it out there to the public, because the public's gonna hate this. They are.
So
I
I
mean,
said
they're gonna-
sanitize
you
that.
guys are the ones that are gonna take the brunt from it, but you better be really careful how you put it
Absolutely.
out
Well,
there
people
when
don't shop
you're
downtown.
raising it.
That's why they don't shop downtown. They go to Coconut or somewhere else, because parking and charging.
Yeah, sure. Yeah, you know, I mean, I definitely don't think that I would touch the long-term rates, actually. I appreciate the recommendations on that, but I would think if you're really trying to incentivize people to move from short-term to long-term, then I wouldn't make any changes to long-term. I would leave that delta as big as possible so that it helps the buyer say, all right, I'm making a value call here. I want to save the money and go to the long-term lot.
How many long-term spaces do we have?
8,700 in the long term and
87.
2,500 in the garage.
Thanks.
You ever fill up the long
Yes.
term?
Were you looking
Yes,
for direction today from the board?
over
on this?
Thanksgiving, the
was
last
looking
two
for some
holidays
direction
we
because
did.
Okay.
What we're trying to accomplish, so when we get into May, because obviously the revenues that we're talking about, this would be any proposals that we make for our budget that ultimately you would see in June, subsequently in September, would include proposed changes in our parking rates effective October 1st of next year. So, some feedback, direction on where we're heading today would help us move forward in terms of how we prepare our budget for May's workshop.
I like Commissioner Hammond's comments about leaving the long-term as it is. Is that what you meant?
Yeah.
To incentivize people to use it more and then raise the short-term?
Yeah.
To the rates that's based upon the analysis?
I'd agree. I was gonna say the same comments. I agree with you with the long-term, keeping them static, and addressing the short-term, if that's truly where we wanna go. And I think, we still give people an option to still be prudent for the for long-term parking, no increase. The short-term parking is for your convenience and the business travel, and I think you'll get less pushback.
I think what Fran said makes sense too. That would help that because we're not moving that long-term. So if you really want to get a little bit of a change, you'll get some change for sure. I think that publicly it looks better. And in a year from now, we can revisit it.
Mr. County Attorney.
Mr. Chairman, just a reminder, this is a workshop, so no formal action can be taken. It's merely discussion and guidance for future considerations.
Excellent.
So just to recap, and I just want, just for one edification, I know we focused a lot on the behavioral changes, which was one of our goals. The other goal was revenue. One of the key pieces of revenue for us, and again, I just want to make sure the board understands, that daily after 1 week rate of $4, Brian, that's expensive. That's an expensive discount, correct?
It is an expensive discount. I don't have the number off the top of my head, but it is, the consultant said, he goes, you should not drop it that much.
That is a very unusual discount.
He didn't see it anywhere in the state.
that I just wanted to bring that to the daily maximum rate, keeping that at 11, first week, $60, the per hour, $2. The daily after 1 week, $4 is a very, very significant discount. We can keep it. In terms of, if that's the feedback I'm getting, we can certainly prepare. But that is a very, very steep discount for after 1 week. And from a revenue standpoint, that would not, we wouldn't be accomplishing one of our goals. I don't have that exact number, but it's okay. It's okay. I just want to make sure that the board understood that That was one of.
I don't know why you give any discount after a week. I think it should, my personal
Fine.
opinion is if I'm gonna go beyond a week and I'm gonna stay for 2 weeks, I'm gonna pay for 2 weeks.
Yep.
We could do weekly rates of $60 and just keep it the same.
Yeah, that was my initial thought when you mentioned that, you know, just.
And it's
just
not, I
once a
mean, this
week
is just
rate of
feedback. We're not making any
$60 and we
decisions.
could- Thank you.
Yep.
Yeah.
Well, just, we're just talking here, but, but
Just get
I
the
just wanted to,
direction,
I just, wanted,
Hypothetically speaking.
I'm just curious on if that was something, so in May, what we would do is we'll bring this back up for discussion at our May workshop, and we'll prepare, let me just recap, that I'll put together a budget that brings a short-term rate, first 20 minutes, no change, per hour, $3, no change, daily maximum of 24 that we can discuss again, and then on the long-term lot, we'll go per hour, $2, no change, daily maximum, 11, stay the same, first, and then a weekly rate of $60.
And that's it.
And that would be those would be our parking products and pricing.
No daily. No $4 daily.
Right.
No
second
discounted
week.
daily
Discount
rate,
daily.
daily rate
No
in the
daily
thing.
rate in long term.
And that's kind of what that's the feedback, and direction we're getting today.
If you could do some of those projections, it'd be helpful.
Yeah,
Yeah,
absolutely.
we
And
will.
we'll prepare some projections based on that.
And,
Okay, thank you.
thank you.
No, that's very
And,
helpful. Okay.
and then, this is, and then I just have one more quick slide. The $24 rate on the left, that's us in the pink there compared to our peers. So it's right in line.
Say that again, if you would, please.
If you look at that, Scott, the chart on the left, if we go to 24, this is how we compare to the other airports. So we're right in line. And then the same thing on the right, we would still be the lowest at 12 or 11. So just.
Even at 11?
Even at 11, so.
All right, so
Thank you.
we can talk about fuel now?
Yeah, we could talk real quick. I just have two more quick subjects. You want to take a few minutes?
Thank you.
All right, fuel at Page. We have a fuel pricing study in progress right now. Dr. Dave Byers, he's a well-known aviation, he's actually a professor, I believe, and he does these aviation studies. Our current fuel pricing, as Ben mentioned, we acquired that FBO in the late 90s,
Right.
and it's a cost plus. So it's, right now, we add 207 to the current purchase price of Jet A, and we add $1.15 to the current purchase price of Avgas.
Right, since when?
We acquired that FBO in late 90s.
Yeah, but the current over was started when? 207, when did we start that?
Oh,
Well, that's the current
that's-
margins. Those haven't been the margins since the 90s, but that's our current margins. But this methodology, the cost plus, has been in place since then.
Okay, got it.
Okay, yeah.
So what we, let me just, what we want to go to is a more industry standard fuel pricing methodology. And that's what this consultant is doing. And this industry standard is recovering all of our expenses. We don't recover all our expenses right now. We want to recover the fuel costs, which we do, we recover that. All our direct labor, all our operational expenses to run the FBO, depreciation and allocations. Based, and when we did this, when we started doing this study, we had a feeling that Avgas was losing money. Avgas is only about 15% of our fuel. 85% of our fuel is jet. Avgas is very labor intensive. It is, we will take a fueler to the other side of the airport and they'll uplift 20 gallons into a small plane. It's very labor intensive. So when we put these numbers in, we realized that Avgas, with the full cost recovery, is losing money. So what, let me just, if I can just, So based on current fuel pricing, there it is right there. The fuel price today is $5.40. We're losing 85 cents per gallon by implementing a cost recovery methodology. Okay? And then, based on the current fuel pricing today of Jet A, it's $5.03. We're making about 9 cents per gallon. This, and I should have said this is based customers. I was picking on based only. We make based jet, we make 9 cents, and based avgas, we lose 85 cents.
So, yeah, we have many different discounting programs for fuel products at an FBO, very common. And the current pricing methodology that we have and how we determine our prices, first of all, we are very, and want to continue to be very competitive. That's not going to change with this. But what we want to do is make sure that don't have like lost leaders there, that we're at least breaking even or making our targeted margin. What's happened over the past several years, and as Brian said, in the avgas area, as our costs of doing business has gone up, our margins using this methodology started shrinking. So unless you put together a model that covers all your costs first, and then put your model, and then put your margin on top of it, there's no way you're going to cover 100% of your costs. So the model that has been in place, although it may have worked years ago, we recognized that it wasn't, and that's why we decided we wanted Dave Byers, an expert in this area, to help us look at other ways to make sure we're running this business at least, in the way it should be. So, Brian, if you go to that next slide, then. So then when you go to this type of model, you aren't pricing your fuel based upon how much you bought the fuel for and then just throwing a margin on top of it. You're pricing your fuel based upon the price of the fuel plus all your other costs, then your margin. That's the cost of your fuel. Yeah. And that's what a typical FBO does. And then you are at least, you know that you're profitable on every gallon that you're pumping. So, yes, sir.
Ben, obviously, the flight schools are continuing to increase capacity because of the need to bring pilots up. I'm just wondering, in this thought process, what potential effect it would have on their profitability and their ability to sustain themselves and grow.
So the flight schools, ATP, they pump their own fuel. Are they doing that yet? Yeah.
It would be
yeah. So ATP, we don't sell them fuel.
Do they have their own trucks?
Scott.
They have a self-fuel tank.
Yeah.
That they pull their aircraft up.
Yeah.
How about Paragon?
Paragon, we still fuel. Correct.
We fuel Paragon.
Gone from the truck, they are contemplating putting in a
Yeah.
self-fuel.
You
Might
need to
want to bring him to the podium.
come up,
That-
yeah.
Based on the advice of my attorney, I'm
Thank you, sir.
requesting.
And what's the difference in pricing between
Our
truck fuel and self-serve fuel?
Right now, I believe.
Scott, you want to identify yourself?
I'm sorry.
Yeah,
I'm
no
sorry. Scott Sheets, Pagefield. I believe right now it's a 50-cent delta. Yeah. Discount.
50-cent delta?
Yeah.
And forgive me, I mean, I'm asking these questions as somebody who buys a lot of aviation fuel. From my account, it's a lot. And based aircraft get fuel out of the truck for the same price as they would if they took their plane to the self-fueler?
No, the self-fuel is the cheapest option. Our based aircraft do get a discount off the retail price, off the itinerant price. But the best price is always going to be the self-fuel price. And this methodology is actually going to try and increase that delta between the truck price and the self-serve price to make it a more attractive option. The self-serve.
Okay, so based aircraft, but they're still gonna get a discount than transient.
Correct, yes. We're gonna keep the discount programs. We're not gonna have as many tiers or levels of discount programs, but we would still propose to have a discount program for our based Avgas and Jet A customers.
And we're servicing Paragon. ATP's got their own fuel pump. Do we charge them a fee per gallon?
Yes, they pay a flowage fee of 30 cents a gallon currently for every gallon delivered to their tank.
Are we adjusting that at all on this program?
It could be adjusted, yes, based on what we're gonna refer to as the airfield recovery fee costs that everyone would pay regardless of whether it's self-fueling or it would just pretty much substitute the flowage fee.
30 cents sounds like a bargain, you know, I think for flowage fee.
Well, are they able to sell to other folks other than their own use out of that tank?
No, sir,
Okay.
strictly their own aircraft.
Yeah, but we're the only provider of fuel on the airport, whether it's by a flowage fee to ATP or out of the FBO services, period, right?
That is correct.
Either out of the truck or self-serve.
Correct.
On this, could y'all compare more apples to apples for me? So I see that on the first slide, it says, you know, based on current fuel pricing of $5.40 per gallon. So I understand $5.40 per gallon. On the second page, what would be the new per gallon cost that the end user is gonna pay?
Oh, yeah.
So you would add, Scott, is this, yeah, that's a good question. Based on, so if it's $5.40, we would add 85 plus $1.45, right?
For the base customer,
Yeah.
are you strictly talking base?
Yeah, just based.
Yeah, we're using base just for illustrative purposes. Obviously, this methodology flows through all the different products.
So
But what would be that posted what would be that price?
it would
for-
be, 540 plus 85 plus $1.45, right?
$6.25 a gallon for to make up for your 85-cent shortfall.
Yeah, we gotta get rid of the shortfall and then add $1.45. Does that make sense?
Okay.
Yep.
770?
Yeah, thank you.
I mean, so that's a pretty good increase. I mean,
Yeah.
that's-
But Avgas is
What would be
losing.
the reaction from the folks who are our consumers? I mean,
As a consumer, I'd be a little upset. That would be the highest price, I think,
More than a little.
in the region.
No, I don't think that's the math that's gonna work. That's not the
it's
math,
not.
and
No,
and
it's
that's not
kinda
how it
hard.
works out.
Yeah.
So here,
Did I get that number?
yeah,
Oh, okay.
yeah, something's wrong. That's
As a base customer in Naples, I pay $5.20.
Yeah.
Which is the price I would pay if I took, out of the truck. I pay
So
$5.20.
this is retail, right? I can just do that one and that one.
And that's about $1 discount over what a transient would pay.
That's okay. I could just do it. So, I apologize, yeah, I did quote your wrong number there. But if you take, I'm gonna call it retail price, the posted price, that a lot of people don't pay that, but before discounts,
Can we call it transient price? Is that what you're referring to?
sure, yeah.
yeah, that would be the retail.
That would be, Commissioner, it's $5.65. If we do a proposed, it would go to $6.88. $5.65 to $6.88 would be the change in the posted retail price, which is,
They're doing 145.
to get a full cost recovery. That would be the price. And we are recommending a phased-in approach. This is not something that we want to do.
Yeah, the last bullet there, so, you know, the real discussion item for us is trying to adjust our pricing methodology to recover our costs. if you look at that $1.45 per gallon as a target and 93 cents per gallon as a target, that number can be whatever we want it to be. That is that number is based upon an industry that typically an avgas when an FBO would generate in terms of, is that for avgas? Yeah, an avgas would expect to generate gross profit on per gallon. We can generate 50 cents, but we're still generating 50 cents. Right now, we're losing 85. You understand what I'm saying? So we're focused on right now, and I think this is very helpful to us. We're not looking to spike our prices. We want to be low. We're always low. Probably one of the lowest. Scott, help me out here when I say lowest. Would you say lowest in the region, lowest in the state?
I'd be
Where do we
surprised by
typically
that,
rank?
Ben.
Huh?
I'd be surprised by that.
Where do we
We're very competitive right now with both Naples and Punta Gorda.
Okay.
We've all kind of come in line to where we're very competitive compared to the rest of the state. Though we're on the low end, definitely on the low end.
Definitely on the low end.
Yes. And I've got some retail prices here from yesterday that I can share for other airport, for ourselves and other airports if
So
you're
what
interested.
we're trying to do is build a model where we have built-in gross profit as opposed to what we're actually losing money. We can put together a full schedule of pricing on all the different products compared to how it is today versus later, and talk about that in May and show you what the real impacts are. It doesn't have to be based on $1.45 or 93 cents as gross profit, because that is probably a pretty significant impact in terms of what we'd be asking our customers to pay from what they're paying now, and that's not what we want to do. At the end of the day, we don't want to sticker shock anybody. We're trying to make sure we're covering our costs, really, and generating a little bit of profit.
Well, it sounds like then you've identified the same concerns that I would have had, and so I guess, what I would convey is I need more information before I pick a direction to go in on this. I think you've done a great job of identifying a problem that we're losing 85 cents per gallon for avgas-based customers. So I assume that even the folks, probably especially the folks that have airplanes or business people and understand you can't lose money on something. So obviously there's a good job identifying the problem. I think we got to look at the solution and what would the impact of the solution be. And I thought it was very helpful on the parking conversation to see the graphs that ranked us versus our peers. I think if you could give us a similar presentation on what the new model is going to look like and how we rank against our peers and industries, I think that'll help us make a better decision on that.
And distinguish between Jet A and 100 low lead. And then in the next 7 years, the industry is going to go with not unleaded. In other words, you got low lead and then unleaded, which has now been approved for use in all aircraft, piston-driven aircraft, by the FAA.
Yeah.
Now it's a question of getting it available. So I don't know if we have any, any plans in the future on how we deal with that, but that's going to be something we have to deal with.
Well, what we'll do, if the board is in line with this, when we come back in May, we'll put together very similar data that we did for the parking that benchmarks this new pricing method. I'm going to call this a pricing methodology. This more of an industry standard on how we price things, with some different, more like a sensitivity analysis too, that shows, hey, if we use these different margins, what the impact to the pricing will be, but you can at least be benchmarking it against competition.
Yeah.
Yeah, we need to be transparent too with how we arrive at that price, because people that own aircraft, first of all, Brian, you're probably right that people that own them understand the difference, but they also want to know how you're arriving at that. And are you taking advantage of the fact that I own an airplane? There's a lot of people buying avgas, 100 low lead, that have, small airplanes, experimental, so forth and so on, and they pay very close attention to every gallon of fuel that they burn.
Okay, I think you've got what you were looking for there, and, if we could, because we're coming up on 11, if we could move through.
So
quickly on-
let's move right to the hangar.
Yeah.
And that's a real,
Thank-
quick one. So
Thanks.
on the
Yeah, this-
hangar, rates at Page Field, we've done appraisals, based on size and age for our hangars at Page Field. And this past year, we actually did, do a rate increase of 4%. Based on that, we were very, very low. And, just the last piece, really, I'll just hit that we want to continue to phase, hangar rent increases just over a period of time, not do it all at once, but continue with, 4 to 5% increases to get us back up to market. But we were anywhere from, Brian, what were the numbers in terms of below what our competitors were? And we should probably make sure we have, the board has an understanding at our May workshop, even though there's so many different
Right.
types of hangars.
We
and
are,
so many
we're
different types.
less than Naples and even Punta Gorda right now.
Yeah.
So it is
And we have
low.
such a high demand for these that, we want to make sure we're.
Didn't we like a year or two ago have like a waiting list at Page Field, like 75 to 100?
There's
people waiting?
almost 200 right now on the waiting list.
200, yeah.
And we've got 189 hangars,
We could build a lot
They're
of
all
hangars if
full.
we really wanted to.
and we're building more.
So we don't currently have an index that it goes up by every year. Like a lot of times we'll do leases ourselves, and it's written into the lease that year
Right.
2, it goes up by this %, 3, 4, 5.
We want to go there.
But we don't currently have that with
We
any of them.
don't,
Okay.
no.
So last year, or this fiscal year, you said we implemented a 4%.
Yes, sir.
Okay, and so is that, as in your phased approach, you're looking at doing something like that?
Yes, sir.
4% annually?
We're
until-
looking to do some sort of where we keep up with the market, every year. And it's, and to be completely transparent, it is, it's sensitive, when you're raising rates, it's just one of those things, but we're low. And when you take a look at our waiting list, it's supply and demand, and the market definitely is dictating that we can and should be charging, we should be charging the market rate for these hangars.
What is the market rate? What's your estimation of the market rate?
Well, depends on the hangar.
Let's say for a single aircraft, I don't know, T hangar?
Sure. And it varies. We had an appraisal done last year, you said, and they came in and looked at all of our hangars, the sizes, the ages, the conditions, and they gave us ranges for each one. And typically for a single type hangar, we're looking at anywhere from $375 up to $500, somewhere in that range, and it varies.
That's the appraisal.
That's based on the appraisal, yes.
Right, that's not what we're charging.
No, we're probably, 10, 15, up to 20% under, based on, exactly which hangars we're talking about.
So, anyway, that's it on the hangar.
So
Yeah.
I think just to wrap that up, my question would be, so suggesting a phased-in approach, looked like we implemented a 4%. How do you envision bringing those increases to the board for us to approve them?
So we annually, and that's a great question. So annually, what we do is we bring a Page Field rates and charges booklet as part of our budget. It's a rates and charge book. So what we would do is, in our rates and charges book in October, we would incorporate language into that would automatically October 1st adjust hangar rates and all the different different types of hangars, and the rates are listed in that booklet, correct?
Correct.
Yeah, and it would say that we're doing 4% or whatever that number ends up being would be in our rates and charges.
And you'd make that really transparent so the board could see it and know what
Yes,
we're
sir.
approving?
It would be on the green sheet, as part of the green sheet.
Excellent.
Yeah.
Any further discussion on that item then?
Are the aircraft owners, logging in on this discussion? Have you heard from any of them? I know several of them that have a lot of interest in replacement of hangars and stuff like that.
Right. We didn't really hear any feedback on the 4% increase this year. We didn't get really any, I don't recall any negative feedback on that, to be quite honest. We haven't put anything in front of them yet.
Do you have any
just based on these.
privately owned hangars that are on a land lease? Yes.
We, 11 corporate hangars, but none of them sublease. Those are strictly for the corporate aircraft for those businesses.
Okay,
Commissioner
Greenwell.
thank you.
Do we have any plans with that kind of demand? We, of course, we don't want to overbuild, but do we have space in any future plans of building more hangars?
Yes, yes,
Sure,
sir.
build them
We
all.
are currently, just broke ground on the south side of the airport, South Quad. We're actually under construction for 80, is it 81? 81 additional hangars.
Southeast corner.
Yeah, southeast corner, yeah. So, good question. Thank you.
You feel like you have the direction you needed from the board?
I do, Mr.
Good
Chairman. Thank you.
conversation. Commissioners, anything else you want to add? I know we're bumping up against, like I said, 11:05 now. All right, then if there's no further discussion and no further business, then we'll adjourn. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
I feel like I have icicles hanging on me, so cold and.
Yeah.
Everybody's